Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. This video shows the last living polio survivor from the 1950s, Paul Alexander. He still uses his iron lung all day, every day. There are spiders that capture bats and large birds and eat their living bodies. Llama spit is actually projectile vomit. You never stop seeing. When your eyes are closed, you're actually just looking at your eyelids. And now, your eyes are closed. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Being the second most fragile organ in your body, a single punch can completely rupture your liver. A study conducted over several years found that the TSA failed to catch 95% of guns, drugs, and other illegal paraphernalia going through airports.
This 16-year-old was sentenced to 50 years in prison, and you won't believe what he did. In 2022, Noah Nay shot a 5-year-old girl in the neck and shoulder in Oklahoma. This teen, who I swear looks like a 9-year-old, was riding in a stolen car and purposely shot inside a home where the little girl was playing. But again, this was no accident. No one did this for a gang initiation. Luckily, the little girl survived, but had the bullet hit a spot an inch away, she would have definitely died. Noah was arrested, but not long after, he escaped the juvenile detention center by jumping a fence. He was found 4 days later, but when he was put back into the detention center, he repeatedly assaulted staff. Noah was sentenced as an adult, but the judge said that in 2028, his sentence can be reduced if he's proved that he's changed.
This is the Claire Miller case, the TikToker who stabbed her sister to death. This is Claire Miller, and in 2021, she stabbed her sister to death. Claire was just an average 14-year-old girl who went to school, had friends, and did normal teenage things. And she also posted on TikTok a bunch, which accumulated a small fan base. And there are pages still active today reposting and sharing her TikToks. But she had a disturbing side of her that nobody knew about, and in 2021 that side of her would come out. Claire had an older sister named Helen who was 19 and Claire was 14. And what makes this case even sadder is that her sister Helen had cerebral palsy. But randomly on February 2nd, 2021, Claire just randomly snapped. She grabbed a knife in her house and stabbed her 19-year-old sister in the neck with it. Claire then called the police and turned herself in, but she was completely hysterical on the phone, claiming, "I killed my sister, you need to get here right now." And when the authorities arrived, Claire was standing outside completely covered in blood, and there was also blood all over the snow on the ground. Her sister was then found inside the house with the knife still in her neck. Authorities have gone on the record after this murder stating how this case is so unusual because it's a sister murdering her older sister, and Claire was only 14 years old when she committed this crime, which is just extremely young. Obviously, Claire's parents were devastated because not only did they lose one daughter, they lost their other daughter because Claire was arrested. Claire was sentenced to 12.5 years to 40 years in prison. This case is just horrible, and it just goes to show that you never know what somebody is really going through or thinking. I feel so bad for the parents and the sister, and may Helen rest in peace.
If you're rich, you can do whatever you want, like post bail after allegedly murdering 4 young women. This is 22-year-old Fraser Boehm of Malibu. On October 17th, he drove his 2016 red BMW to pick up tacos. On the way back, he claimed he was involved in a road rage incident, and that a car began chasing him and trying to run him off the road. Investigators have said that there is no evidence of this. Fraser is driving westbound on the PCH where the speed limit is 45 miles per hour, which is apparently about 3 miles away from where the road rage incident occurred. Prosecutors allege that Fraser hit speeds up to 104 miles per hour when he suddenly lost control of the vehicle on Dead Man's Curve and slammed into at least 3 vehicles parked on the side of the road shortly before 9 p.m. 4 Pepperdine students that were standing/walking in between these vehicles were instantly killed. 21-year-olds Asha Weir, Deslyn Williams, Peyton Stewart, and Neve Ralston. All 4 girls were seniors and sorority sisters at Pepperdine. Some witnesses claimed that Fraser immediately tried to flee the scene, and that he ultimately had to be tackled by Sigma Chi fraternity members who watched this fatal collision. Fraser was arrested and initially charged with vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence. but authorities released him the following day so that they could investigate further. Frazier was rearrested on Tuesday and charged with 4 counts of murder and 4 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter. The following day, he pleaded not guilty and his bond was set at $8 million. The judge reduced that bail to $4 million. This past Friday, Frazier was able to post that bail, which would be around $400,000 cash, and he's now free until the conclusion of his trial. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for December 15th.
Creepiest urban legends in the world. The Devil's Chain, Florida. According to the locals, if you sit in this chair and leave a beer on the step, it will whisper torturing messages to you. Only one person has attempted this.
When this family experienced their teenage loved one murdered, they thought it would be the last tragedy they would have to endure. 10 years later, another relative vanished. Brianna Dennison was just 19 when she was murdered. I will link her case to this video. Tragically for the Dennison family, 10 years later, on January the 10th, 2018, her relative Caitlin Dennison vanished. The teenager was from Reno in Nevada and was last known to be in Midland, Texas. She was last seen at Rick's Cabaret in Odessa and Walmart on Briarwood Drive. 6 months before vanishing, Caitlin had met a man who she began a relationship with. On the 9th of January 2018, Caitlin and the man in question took a flight. This was from Caitlin's hometown in Reno, Nevada to Texas together. Unfortunately, Caitlin's family do not know the man's name or a description of what he looked like. What we do know about Caitlin's movements is the day after she arrived in Texas, she reportedly called her sister from a Walmart in Midland. Concerningly, she said to her sister, "This man makes me scared for my life." As of right now, Caitlin has never spoken to her family again. They have never heard from her and never been able to get hold of her. The man that Caitlin was with has still never been identified. As little is known about the flight that the pair took together, it hasn't been possible to check CCTV from the airport. There is a $3,000 award for anyone who provides information leading to an arrest in this case.
This is the scariest song in the world, and here's why. Okay, so we all heard this song before, especially if you're into scary things and watch the Insidious movies. But do you know the very disturbing and chilling backstory behind this song? Well, the song is called Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and it was recorded and released in 1968 by American singer Tiny Tim. And when the song was first released, it didn't have the scary reputation it has now. However, this would change during his last ever live performance of the song. On September 28, 1996, Tiny Tim suffered a heart attack that was pretty miniature while performing at a music festival. And after this happened, his doctors advised him that he wasn't healthy enough to perform on stage anymore. However, Tiny Tim ignored the advice from his doctors and scheduled another concert at a women's club in Minnesota the next month. But right before his performance, he told his wife that he wasn't feeling that good. Nevertheless, Tiny Tim decided to go on stage anyway. And after performing the last song of the night, he suffered a major heart attack on stage and died in front of the crowd. And the song he was performing was Tiptoe Through the Tulips. This song was already terrifying, but it's 100 times more terrifying after knowing this. Now listen to it again after knowing this.
Scariest urban legend.
Creepy facts you didn't know about. This sound is just a cat meowing. Sadly, the cat died after the video of it meowing was recorded. The owner slowed it down and made this in audio. If you don't believe me, speed it up.
Have you heard that they announced that aliens are real and are currently on Earth? But the public's reaction to this news is not what they were anticipating. You have to see some of these reactions, they're hilarious. Bro, I don't care if aliens are real, I want to be able to go to the dentist. Taking my alien to the new Barbie movie. I'm not paying student loans if there are aliens, sorry. Are the aliens over 6 foot and fully recovered from their ex? Because I could be interested. Me trying to show aliens I'm a good one. Aliens are gonna be super confused when they show up threatening to overthrow our leaders and we're all stoked to offer help. US government has aliens and UFOs in the procession of the aliens. Aliens deserve to see the Barbenheimer double feature too. I will say, I'm gonna be so pissed if I have to live through an alien invasion on top of a recession, depression, 9/11, Trump, and COVID.
I walked out of the theater after seeing Saw X and decided I need more. So here's 3 horror movies you need to watch, especially if you like Saw. First up is this absolutely insane movie called 31, about 5 carnival workers who get kidnapped by crazy killer clowns and forced to play a deadly game called 31. If I had to describe this movie in 2 words, it would be weird and insane. And I mean both as compliments. Next up is a movie I've been waiting to talk about, Dead Silence, which was made by the writers, directors, and producers of Saw. It's about a town with a unique urban legend of a doll maker turned serial killer. It's actually a crime that it has 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. Please watch this and let me know if you agree with me or the critics. I really need to know. And the last movie is also the one that's most similar to Saw, because The Collector was supposed to be John Kramer's origin story, but now it's about a different serial killer who turns different places into traps and collects victims from each of the traps that he makes. I have a whole video dedicated to the Collector series as well, so follow for more.
This poor girl encountered the Serbian dancing lady. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my last video. The Serbian dancing lady is a woman that dances the street at night. She carries a knife with her, and if she encounters someone, then... check out her encounter. It's believed to be bad luck if you make eye contact with her, which she did. It's scary because there's been so many sightings of this lady recently. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. Stay safe. For more scary content, check out my YouTube channel, link in bio.
Here are 4 disturbing and scary facts you didn't know. Part 11. During World War II, an American plane crashed on Chichijima, a Japanese island. There were 9 men on board, 8 of whom were captured and eaten. The one who was rescued was George Walker Bush. You can now see if you are being tracked on TikTok. Just click on share, slide to the side, click more, and if an unknown app pops up, delete it immediately. Until 2004, it was assumed that the giant squid was just a myth. This goes to show that there are likely a handful of sea monsters that still may be roaming the depths, waiting to be discovered. If you comment, stun, you will unlock this secret TikTok emoji. These are the mugshots of William West, and they're not related. They were both sent to Leavenworth Prison at the same time in 1903, and after some confusion, the staff understood that there were 2 different prisoners with the exact same name who looked exactly alike. They are a big part of the reason why fingerprints are now used as identification. On October 9, 1976, a small town in Ireland had an unusual fog sweep in around 7 p.m. Many people were scared and locked up their houses. The fog disappeared by morning. There were over 60 reported sightings of the undead that night. Police believed most of them were pranks. Strangely, the police found the local graveyard had all the graves dug up. This is a huge mystery in all of Europe and was famous in the 70s.
This is one of the hardest execution videos to watch explained. The video that I'm about to explain is a short one, but it's absolutely gut-turning. The video setting is in some sort of rainforest area, and as the video begins, Deborah Bessa, who is the victim on your screen right now, can be seen kneeling on the ground, and a man is standing behind her holding her hair. His face is covered and he's holding a machete. The look on Deborah's face is complete fear and worry as she awaits her grisly demise. She is then pulled to the ground by the guy with the machete and lets out a haunting scream. Deborah is lying on her side, almost in a fetal position now, and the killer then takes the machete and tries to slash the side of her neck with it, but struggles as Deborah tries her best to defend herself, while letting out ear-piercing screams. A second man then enters the shot carrying what looks like a kitchen knife, and he then begins to stab Deborah in her side and around her ribcage area. She reacts with a short, sharp scream and then lies on her back after she is stabbed. The man with the machete then begins slashing at her throat as Deborah screams and screams and screams. And while this is happening, the man with the kitchen knife begins stabbing her in the stomach. And instinctively, she tries to move her hand to protect herself from the stabbings, but the killer stabs through her hand and into her stomach. After a few seconds, she stops screaming but is still moving as she is being stabbed and beheaded by the killers. The man with the machete then stands up and hits Deborah in the throat with the machete, which makes a cracking type sound, which means he most likely hit her spine with the blade. He then hits her again and again, and after the second strike, it appears Deborah vomits, but it comes out of her slashed throat instead of her mouth. He then hits her a couple more times and her body freezes up as her spinal cord is severed, and it appears the beheading has been completed and the video concludes. 2 of the 3 killers in this video have been arrested and this video was used as evidence. This video is absolutely horrific and some consider it one of the worst ones out there, and I can see why. Just the pure evil and brutality in this video is enough to make you look away. Never go searching for this video because you will regret it immediately.
Top 3 creepy last words people said right before dying. A nurse said that one night she was floated to oncology at the hospital she used to work at. She was given a patient who was passing away and had been unconscious for several days. At one point during the night, the nurse went into the room and the patient was on top of the bed. She looked at the nurse and said, "Don't let them take me." The nurse was freaked out and she asked her who was going to take her, and the patient said, "That black thing up there," and pointed up in the air. The patient died within minutes. A guy was rushed into a level 1 trauma facility from a motorcycle versus truck collision. The guy's able to talk at the beginning. He was drunk and cussing out the doctors and nurses trying to help him. They end up intubating him to preserve the airway and he's going downhill fast. He codes, but they manage to bring him back. Suddenly, the guy comes completely to, rips out his tube, grabs one of the med student's hands and lets out a breathy-like scream. "Don't let me die. I'm going to hell. Please don't let me die," he said. This freaks out everyone. The guy said he woke up in hell on fire and keeps begging someone to check his feet for burns. Nobody could believe that he pulled out his tube and was talking. Despite everything they did, the guy still died. The doctors and nurses were freaked out about it for weeks. Emma said that when she worked in a nursing home, they had a resident that was unpleasant, to say the least. One day, Emma was on bell duty. It was her responsibility to answer all the bells for 2 hours, and the man rang his bell and told her that there was a black dog under his bed. Emma looked under the bed, but there was nothing there. She thought that he could have possibly seen a dog because it was a hot day and the front door to the home was open. She told him that the dog must have gone out the door before she arrived. He rang the bell again a short time later, insisting that he could see a dog under the bed. Again, Emma couldn't see anything. This carried on. He became quite hysterical on one occasion, shouting that the black dog under his bed was trying to bite him and that it had red eyes. He looked terrified, and Emma couldn't calm him down for ages until the dog disappeared. She handed over what happened to the nurse in charge and went home as it was the end of her shift. The next day, she was on afternoon shift, and she found out that the man had died not long after she had gone home. It really freaked her out. Emma said that he was a very unpleasant man, and she often wondered if the dog was there to take him away to you-know-where.